Hello, critical thinkers. Hope all is well. Hope all is well. Tonight, we're going to be going over some updates in the Robert Brooks murder case. For those of you not familiar, back on December 9th, 2024, Robert Brooks, an incarcerated individual who was being transferred from Mohawk Correctional Facility to Marcy Correctional Facility, was brutally beaten and murdered in the infirmary at Marcy. What we saw on body camera, which captured the murder inadvertently, was the third beating out of three. And this is one thing we learned through the proceedings and previous, press conferences from William Fitzpatrick, that these beatings typically happen in threes. So Robert Brooks was brutally beaten three times, and we saw the body cam footage of what occurred inside the infirmary at Marcy Correctional Facility. So first and foremost, thank you for being here. I wouldn't be here unless it was for you. When you have a moment, please like the video, share the video, comment, and subscribe to the channel. It greatly helps with the algorithm. So with that being said, tonight's stream is not going to be a long stream. I want to give you the facts. I want to give you a little bit of commentary. I actually want to give you about 90% facts and reporting and 10% commentary. And then I want you guys to let me know what you think. I'm going to be posting the link in the chat of the video for anyone who wants to come on and share their opinion with me. So previously, we had two correctional officers from Marcy who had pled guilty. One individual had basically no prison time, and then you had Christopher Walrath, who pled guilty and will be doing prison time. So you have the 8 remaining correctional officers, and in addition to those correctional officers that are pending that have been charged, you have 3 additional individuals that will be pleading guilty to charges later, and because of their potential cooperation, because of their testimony that will come out in trial. For those defendants who did not plead guilty today, trial begins on October 6th in Oneida County Court. Okay, so I'm going to be going over some updates with you. As usual, I'm pretty mixed on the results of today's plea bargains. So I'm going to share an article with you from the freelance. JB Nicholas has been covering this case, and a lot of my videos are thanks to him, who's done an excellent job reporting, boots on the ground. So if you have the opportunity, check out the freelancenews.org. The article I'm going to be speaking on today, the link is in the description. So if you want to read that on your own, by all means. So I'm going to post this article now. I'm going to prop it up and we'll take a look at it together. So again, this is the freelance JB Nicholas updated. 4 more prison guards plead guilty to killing Robert Brooks. 22-year sentences for 2 of the killer guards. Trial remaining. 4 guards set to start October 6th. Here you have Nicholas Angelone and his attorney, Anthony Safranco. I did a video about Anthony Safranco, who, before they were officially charged, commented about the Robert Brooks murder. So let's move on with the article. 4 of the remaining 8 state prison guards charged with killing prisoner Robert Brooks have pleaded guilty, and the remaining 4 are set to start trial October 6th. I believe those 4 that are going to trial have made a massive mistake. And I'll tell you why when those names come up. Nicholas Angelo and Anthony Farina admitted they killed Robert Brooks at New York State Marcy Correctional Facility outside Utica on December 9th, 2024. Stone-faced and somber, they also admitted they quote-unquote acted in concert with the other guards. They agreed to 22 years in state prison when they are sentenced November 1st. Now, we had a quick question from Sunset. Sunset, thank you for being here. The question is, do they start doing their time today? And the answer is no, they do not start doing their time today. They're going to be sentenced on November 21st, 2025, and these defendants remain on bail. This this I have a big problem with. You have individuals that are going to be sentenced. They pled guilty to 22 years, and they're allowed to remain free. So, in my world, that's a luxury I don't think you or I would have, even though they both have made bail. Let's continue on with the article. Former New York State correctional officers, and this is from left to right, Anthony Farina, Nicholas Angelo. And actually, this here is Nicholas Angelo, the first one. This is Anthony Farina, the second one. You have Michael Mashaw and David Walters pleaded guilty to their roles in killing Robert Brooks at the Marcy Correctional Facility on December 9th. Michael Mashaw, a former sergeant, and David Walters pleaded guilty to second-degree manslaughter for failing to stop the killing. Mashaw agreed to a 3 to 9 year sentence. Walters, a 2.5 to 7 year sentence. Now, in my opinion, these prison sentences are light for Michael Mashaw and David Walters. One thing that Anthony Farina pled guilty to and stated was he acted in concert with the other correctional officers. So 3 to 9 years and 2.5 to 7 years seems like they're getting off pretty easy. They acted in concert. In my unprofessional opinion, they should have received 8 to 15, 10 to 15, not 2.5 years, and that means he's getting out in lesser time. Let's continue on. The guards were part of a beat up squad of state prison guards that tortured and murdered Robert Brooks, 43 years of age, inside Marcy Infirmary. It was unintentionally captured on video by body cameras worn by 4 of the guards. Letitia James, New York State Attorney General, knew about Marcy's beat up squad before it killed Brooks because her office was already defending its alleged leader, Sergeant Glenn Trombley, and another member of the squad, Farina, from a civil rights lawsuit filed by a prisoner. They almost killed him in 2020, the Freelance exclusively reported. The moment you start going down this rabbit hole, and I was absolutely flabbergasted, you have hundreds of cases of incarcerated individuals being beaten and killed by correctional officers in New York State, and there's little to zero repercussions. This is the first time that the murder of an incarcerated individual was captured on body-worn cameras, and this in large part is why we're getting the level of justice that we have now. If those body-worn cameras did not capture anything, I doubt these officers would have been arrested, indicted, and charged for murder. That most certainly would not have happened. Let's continue on with the article. Anzalone, Farina, Mashaw, and Walters joined former guard Christopher Walrath in pleading guilty for taking part in Brooks' killing. Walrath admitted guilt to first-degree manslaughter and was sentenced to 15 years in state prison on August 4th. The thing that I mentioned before about Christopher Walrath was he was the first that pled guilty that um, is doing major time. But Christopher Walrath was not supposed to be interacting with Robert Brooks. Christopher Walrath left his post at the Arsenal to participate in the beating and murder of Robert Brooks. This tells you about the level of depravity in the New York State Department of Corruption and Criminal Sadist, aka New York State Docs. What's been occurring with Robert Brooks has been occurring for decades. This is not uncommon. There's no such thing as bad apples. It's a culture of corruption and sadism that's occurring at New York State. Let's go back to the article. Correction officers Nicholas Kiefer, Matthew J. Gallagher, and David J. Kingsley also faced murder charges of Robert Brooks. Kingsley was offered the same plea bargain deal Angelone and Farina accepted, but Kingsley rejected it. So Kingsley is going to be facing life in prison, and I'm fairly certain that he is going to be convicted. Kingsley is going to be convicted, and he's going to be kicking himself in the arse for not accepting this plea deal that was offered to him. He should have taken 22 years because he's going to be sentenced to life in prison. In addition to the 6 guards charged with murder, Sergeant Mashaw, CO Michael Fisher, and Walters were charged with second-degree manslaughter for failing to stop the killing. Gallagher was also charged with gang assault, and Angelone was also charged with filing a false report. Very similar to the Messiah Nantry murder case, what you find is multiple crimes occurring. You have the actual beating, you have the murder, and then afterward you have the additional crime of the cover-up. As we learned in the Messiah Nantry case, they conspired after the murder of Messiah Nantry, got together at a diner called Raspberries, and said, hey, you are going to say this officer is going to say that. Messiah Nantry had a weapon on him, X, Y, and Z. They conspired and get together. This is not uncommon. This is common practice in the New York State Department of Corruption. This is commonplace. Let's continue on with the article. Here we have photos of the additional correction officers, David Kingsley, Michael Fisher, Matthew Gallagher, and Nicholas Kiefer, all of whom rejected plea bargains. And as it mentions here, they're going to trial on October 6th. Now, one name that has not been spoken a lot about, is Sergeant Trombley. What's happening with Sergeant Trombley? Let's see if this article sheds some light. Sergeant Trombley, Robert T. Kessler, and a third guard pleaded guilty to unknown charges in exchange for specific sentences. Special Prosecutor Onondaga County District Attorney William J. Fitzpatrick said he would disclose the charges and the sentences in the future. So this is news to me. I was not aware of these two names, Sergeant Trombley and Robert T. Kessler, and a third guard that's not named here, because Sergeant Trombley was the quote-unquote leader, the alleged leader of the goon squad. I'm afraid to hear what he's going to plead guilty to and how much time he's going to be doing. I have a feeling he's not going to be doing any prison time. Don't quote me. I could be wrong. I'm hoping that I'm wrong. But there should be major consequences for Sergeant Trombley for being the head of the alleged head of the goon squad. So let's see what happens in the future after the trial occurs. After his testimony, Robert T. Kessler's testimony, and the third guard. Another guard, Nicholas Gentile, was charged with evidence tampering. He pleaded guilty to a misdemeanor charge of attempted evidence tampering and was sentenced to 1 year conditional discharge and a $250 fine. And again, I'm not a legal scholar, but I can tell you he's being sentenced to 1 year conditional discharge. That means that after 1 year, if he does not get in trouble, he has no criminal record. That record is expunged as a conditional discharge. If anyone disagrees with that, please let me know in the comments section. But that's my understanding of what a conditional discharge is. Let's continue on with the article. When Walrath was sentenced, Fitzpatrick, the special prosecutor, said Brooks did absolutely nothing to provoke his killers. That's true. Special prosecutor Fitzpatrick did say this, but I don't want that to get into people's heads that if something did occur, if there was a quote unquote provocation by an incarcerated individual, that they deserve death, whether it's saying a name, spitting, or anything to that effect. No one deserves death in that scenario. So it is true. Robert Brooks did not do anything to provoke his murder. So we have to just take note of that and understand, even if there was some level of provocation, there's a spectrum of provocation. So I just want to be very careful with that statement. Previously, the judge presiding over the case, Oneida County Court Judge Robert Bauer, denied the remaining four defendants' motions for separate trials. Their joint trial will be October 6th. Oneida County Court Judge Robert Bauer is presiding over the prosecution of the prison guards charged with killing Brooks. Photo credit, J.B. Nicholas. And there's one thing that I do not like. Some of these pretrial motions, cameras were not allowed in the room. That has to change. For the trial, there must be cameras in that trial. Continuing on with the article. 2.5 months after New York State prison guards allegedly murdered Brooks at Marcy, another beat-up squad of guards at Mid-State Correctional Facility across the road from Marcy allegedly murdered Messiah Nantry, 22 years of age. Nantry's alleged killers, like Brooks, have been charged with murder, manslaughter, and related crimes by Fitzpatrick, who was also appointed special prosecutor in that case. Defendants Farina, Anzalone, Mashaw, and Walters were all allowed to remain free on bail pending their November sentencing. Again, defendants Farina, Anzalone, Mashaw, and Walters were all allowed to remain free on bail pending their November sentencing. Now, I strongly disagree with that. I disagree with this in the case of Farina and Anzalone. They're facing 22 years in prison. They should have been remanded. They should have been taken into custody to begin serving their prison sentence. They should have been put away. They should have been incarcerated. Let's continue on. The trial for the remaining four, Kingsley, Fisher, Gallagher, and Kiefer, is expected to last 3 weeks, according to their attorneys and Judge Bauer. Some of the defendants told Judge Bauer they would not be calling witnesses, meaning they will make arguments for acquittal based on the body cam video recordings of Brooks' murder alone. That's pretty ballsy. Saying they will not be calling any witnesses. I mean, this means that their case is absolutely horrible. They have no case. This was captured on body cam. A lawyer for one of the defendants said they anticipated calling Dr. James Kerazine, a forensic pathologist, perhaps best known for his TV appearance on the Forensic Files and the Secrets of the Morgue. Robert Brooks' son, Robert Lee Brooks Jr., responded to the developments by saying, quote, "Today we got justice moving forward for guilty. This fight is far from over, but every step counts. Rest in power, Dad. We won't stop until the truth is fully heard." Again, we want to thank J.B. Nicholas at the Freelance for reporting on this. Also we have other great reporters reporting on this. You have Rome Sentinel, Sean I. Mills reporting on it, and a bunch of other publications that have been covering this consistently. Now, some of you are very visual, so I do want to play a video of a summary of what happened in court today. So I'm going to pop that up now. Give me one quick second. And while I am here, if everyone could please do me a favor, please like the video, comment, share the video. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel. It greatly helps with the algorithm. I appreciate it immensely. Thank you. I'm going to pull up a video now and share this with you. Okay. Here we go.
And new at noon, it was a busy day in Oneida County Court. 8 former Marcy corrections officers appeared for their roles in the death of inmate Robert Brooks in December. 4 accepted plea deals, pleading guilty to various charges, and 4 rejected their plea deals and will be going to trial in 2 weeks. Here's a breakdown. Nicholas Anzalone pleaded guilty to first-degree manslaughter. The plea deal will have him serve 22 years in prison and 5 years of post-release supervision. He also waived his right to an appeal. Had he not accepted the deal, he would have gone to trial for second-degree murder. He will remain out of jail until his sentencing on November 21st.
And that's one thing I disagree with immensely. He's facing 22 years in prison. They should have locked him up on the spot. Again, I do believe these defendants are getting the white glove treatment that would not be afforded to you or I if we were in their shoes.
Anthony Farina also pleaded.
Also, Anthony Farina, for those of you who don't recall, Anthony Farina is the demon of demons. For me, he was the most brutal in the Robert Brooks murder, and the argument from his attorney was the most insulting. Anthony Farina put his boot on Robert Brooks' genitalia, which seems to be a common tactic among correctional officers on incarcerated individuals. And in addition to placing his boot on the genitalia of Robert Brooks, he shoved a rag down his mouth and then punched him 4 times. His attorney, and mind you, I'm a big supporter of defense attorneys, stated that Anthony Farina was helping Robert Brooks by trying to clean mace off of his face, which was an absolutely disgusting, lying argument and was pretty insulting, if you ask me.
Guilty to first-degree manslaughter. He will serve 22 years in prison and 5 years of post-release supervision per the plea deal accepted. He also waived his right to an appeal. He would have also gone to trial for second-degree murder. He will remain out of jail until his sentencing on November 21st. After taking time away from the bench,
Anthony Farina, of all of them, should have been locked up, incarcerated immediately.
To speak to his attorney, David Walters also accepted his plea deal. He pled guilty to second-degree manslaughter and will serve 2 1/3 to 7 years in prison. He was initially facing 5 to 15 years for the same charge. He also does not have to waive his right to an appeal. His sentencing will also be on November 21st. And the 4th former CO to accept their plea deal today was Michael Mashaw. He pled guilty to second-degree manslaughter and will serve 3 to 9 years in prison. He was initially facing 5 to 15 years for the same charge. He also does not have to waive his right to an appeal. His sentencing will also be on November 21st.
Again, in my opinion, in my unprofessional legal opinion, I'm just a man who has an opinion. 3 to 9 years, he should have been serving more time. All of these defendants, for Nicholas Gentile to be given 1-year conditional discharge for participating in the cover-up, for me, it's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting.
Robert Brooks in December. 4 accepted plea deals, pleading guilty.
Oh, I think I went back. My apologies. Here we go.
He was initially facing 5 to 15 years for the same charge. He also does not have to waive his right to an appeal. His sentencing will also be on November 21st. Now to those going to trial, David Kingsley rejected his plea deal and will take his case to a jury. He was offered a deal of pleading guilty to manslaughter, where he would serve 22 years in prison. Now Kingsley will go to trial for second-degree murder, which comes with a mandatory life sentence. The defense says they do not intend to call any witnesses. Jury selection will begin on October 6th.
David Kingsley, I predict, will go away for life in prison. He's making a massive, massive mistake by rejecting 22 years. I do not believe a jury is going to let him off. A jury will not let him off.
Former CO Michael Fisher also rejected his plea deal. He was offered a deal of pleading guilty to second-degree manslaughter, where he would have served 2 1/3 to 7 years in prison. And now Fisher will go to trial for first-degree manslaughter and faces 5 to 15 years in prison. His attorney called for Fisher's case to be tried separately from the other COs. The judge will hear arguments on that next week on October 1st.
By the way, I put a link in the chat for anyone who wants to come on. If you want to let me know how you feel about the case, if you disagree with me, if you think they're getting off easy, jump on the live stream with me. The link is in the chat. Just the only rules that I have is that you have to share your camera, share your camera so we see who you are, and no loud music in the back. I don't want to be copyright striked. And feel free to share your opinion. So if you do want to come on, great. If not, I'll probably end the stream in a few minutes.
Matthew Gallagher was the third CO to reject his plea deal. He was offered a deal of pleading guilty to gang assault, where he would serve 10 years in prison. He will now go to trial for second-degree murder, which comes with a mandatory life sentence. His attorney filed a number of motions, including one that would prevent the prosecution from, quote, narrating over the body camera footage to be shown at trial. The judge will hear arguments on these motions next week on October 1st. And the fourth CO to reject his plea deal was Nicholas Kiefer. He was offered a deal of pleading guilty to second-degree gang assault, where he would have served 9 years in prison. He will now go to trial for second-degree murder and faces a mandatory sentence of life in prison. His attorney said they do not intend to call an expert witness. Jury selection for that trial will start on October 6th.
Okay, there you have it. You have the 4 officers who pled guilty today, and then you have the others that are deciding to roll the dice. That will be a big, big mistake. I do not believe that they will be acquitted. I believe that they will be found guilty. And a couple of them, they're facing life. They're facing life in prison. It's a horrible mistake, but we will see what happens during their trial. To be honest with you, I did not expect these 4 plea bargains, these 4 plea deals that came out today. We all got the heads up yesterday over the weekend that these were coming. So who knows? Because they turned down the pleas. These 4, or maybe a couple of them, might have a change of heart, might get scared. So we will see what happens. Again, we're about to end the stream in a couple minutes, but if you haven't done so already, please like the stream, share it, comment, and if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel. It greatly helps with the algorithm. Wrap it up. As I mentioned, you know, when I did my first Robert Brooks video, this is back in December, I'm going to continue to cover this until the very end, until all of these defendants either take pleas or they're found guilty. I'm going to be doing more reporting on the Messiah Nantry murder case. So I'm going to be continuing to cover these cases. I want to give a special thanks to JB Nicholas, whose article that we read today. If you haven't done so, feel free to go to the freelancenews.org, donate to JB Nicholas's business, his reporting. Definitely show your support for him as well. So, and again, everyone have a good night. Be safe. God bless you, and I will see you next time. Take care.